Can you become whole and still have a boyfriend or girlfriend? Can you become whole and still have a boyfriend or girlfriend?
It all boils down to whether that person is an asset or a liability. If y'all's relationship is ordained by God, now how can I make that make sense? I believe that it's best for two people to court or to date per se in an environment that's conducive for their specific and unique holiness. And I don't want to use a theological term like that, but to make sure they remain whole, make sure there's nothing that's causing any flames to flare, because a person through companionship can be a liability. A person through companionship, it's easy for a person to, once you get what you've always wanted in your life, it's easy for you to get sucked deep in. Meaning that now all of a sudden you're so into that person then keeps you from actually developing. That's why I tell people it's probably best for you to kind of say, hey, if you love that person, be honest with that person. Just because you love them doesn't mean that you have to stay with them. And what I mean by that, stay in a level of relationship that keeps y'all together if you know for a fact that that person is draining you. Or, I mean, all of us had that feeling when that person is keeping you from what's most important. That boyfriend, that girlfriend that's always wanting for your attention. Could it be something demonic that's causing that person to be so in need of you to the point where they're being used as a devil's assistant his agenda for you to be slowly pulled from God? That's why if two couples do not understand spiritual warfare, or two couples don't understand their enemy that they cannot see, they'll find themselves in places where they get sucked into the infatuation, or they get sucked into the moment, and all of a sudden you'll find yourself incomplete. That's why if you have accountability, if you have a married couple who is seasoned, who's been married for years, who has the authority through experience to speak into your life to make sure that you remain stable, then you'll find yourself in a better place, because if you don't have no one speaking and giving you constructive criticism of what you should do, you'll find yourself doing any and everything without no one governing it. So what I say is, yes, a person can keep you from maturing. Yes, a person can keep you from being whole. That's if that person becomes more to you than who God is. But if God is the center of your life, man, you'll be able to navigate. You'll be able to say, should I call the audible here? Should I be like, we need some space, we need some time, we need to focus more? And please, don't be doing that whole let's do Bible study together. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen Bible study between two people by themselves work. You know what I'm saying? The Bible starts to close. You know what I'm saying? And clothes start coming out. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that if you get so caught up on trying to do this relationship by yourselves, you will not be successful. You need accountability to ensure that who you checking in with, who's that seasoned couple who can say, you know what, y'all too much into each other. Because what happens is you get so caught up on how good he looks and how good she looks that you forget to see the red flags. And you need someone to kind of say, hey, that's a red flag. Y'all might want to pull back. Y'all might want to start dating in groups. Y'all might want to pull back on y'all's passions, all that kind of stuff. So that's my 2 cents there.
I'll just say that a lot of times we find ourselves in relationships without checking with God first. And so we'll get into a relationship just because we're lonely, or we just want to boo, or, you know, everybody else is getting married and having babies and you know, changing their relationship status on Facebook, and we want to be part of that too. And so if you're being honest with yourself, and if you find yourself in a position, or if you find yourself saying, you know, because we all know the difference between when you're dating somebody and you know the relationship won't work. Like you know, like, this is not the person that I'm going to marry, but it's cool and it's working for right now. And if you're in one of those relationships, but you're still trying to become whole at the same time, that's not going to work. But if you're in a relationship where you really truly feel and it's been confirmed some way on both parties that this is who you're supposed to be with, and this is going to marriage, and it's not just, oh, he's a Christian guy, he's great, he's single, he's got good credit, we can do this, we can make this work. But if you really have that peace from God, if you really have that knowledge from God on both sides of the table, because, you know, sometimes somebody can say, well, God told me that you were my wife, and God didn't tell you that. Or God said, you know, you're my husband, and God didn't tell him that. And so when you have that clarity on both sides, then I really do think that it is possible to be in a relationship and still become whole at the same time. But if you're just recreationally dating and you're trying to become whole at the same time, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and that's important, because I think God is not a God that's not going to let you know. I think many of us think God's going to let us know in the process, and find out that God didn't even endorse the relationship that you choose to be in. I don't believe a God is a person that's always quiet. He's a God that's willing to give you counsel, willing to give you wisdom. He's willing to tell you if this person is the one for you or not. Many of us just get caught up in the moments of loneliness or the moments of infatuation that we overlook God. What do you think about this? Ask yourself. Look at all the relationships you didn't consult God about first. They all failed. Or you made it work. Anything that started without God will not last. Even if you make it last, it will not be sustained. So what happens is many of us think that, good credit or this person's compatible with me. It's not based upon compatibility. Compatibility shouldn't be the number one reason why you want to be with someone. It should be, is it God ordained? That's the fundamental foundation of it all. And many of us lose sight of going to God like, God, is this the one for me? And God will confirm it and confirm it and confirm it and confirm it, because the blessings of God adds no sorrow. And many of your boos and your Boazes are bringing you sorrow because that person was not supposed to be for you. We're not talking about them getting on your nerves every now. We're talking about sorrow. That you only stuck in this relationship because you got a baby. You only stuck in it because there's nobody else. You stuck in it because you got a perfect living situation. We're talking about when a person is for you and they're whole and you whole, man, it won't be so much pain, man. It will be peaceful. It will be fun. It will be God ordained. And even if y'all have y'all arguments and you have your time, you will giggle at the end. You will laugh at the end because you notice the one that's going to have your back. Because I don't want no woman behind me that's not sent by God. You don't want no man to lead you that's not led by God, because if that woman's not sent by God, that man is not led by God, you will find yourself in a ditch. And if many of us look up and really see reality, many of us are in some ditches with the wrong person. Yeah. Next question.
What do you think are the benefits of fasting? Is it an important part of your walk with Jesus?
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, I'm tired. Fasting is probably one of the most overlooked essential thing of life. For those who don't know what fasting is not an opportunity for you to go to God and say, God, I'm fasting to get an answer. I'm fasting to get to know you. I'm fasting to get closer to you. Because the closer you get to the answer, you get the answer. He's the answer of all answers. Meaning that fasting says, God, I found myself too far from you. I found myself too busy. I found myself too distracted. So fasting is not for me to get an answer or to find out who my wife is or to find out who your husband is or to find out what job it should be or what city. And fasting says, God, I want to get to know you better. I need you right now. I'm empty right now. And fasting, by removing those things that you love most, puts your body in subjection. Meaning that when I fast, I'm actually putting myself over in control of my body, and I'm putting God over control of me. Many of us, our bodies runs us. Them Twinkies, those donuts, those hamburgers, those brownies, that woman, that man, that idea of marriage, that concept of love, all these different things rule us. And so what happens is our bodies are just, and our souls are just so loose, and we have nothing to pull the reins back. And we're not talking about for y'all to go on a 40-day fast, because I wouldn't survive. And I don't advertise for anyone to do no 4-day fast without being led by God to do so. But God may say, I want you to remove Instagram for a week. If you remove Instagram for a week, you know how much time you have? Facebook for a week, you know how much time you have? And all of a sudden, I found myself, even when I fast, I don't even want to do the stuff no more. When I fasted from TV, that's the one thing that God has not have stripped me from is sweets, but he's working on me. But I remember one time, God was like, just don't watch TV for a month. God was like, food too, God, you working on me. But anyway, I don't even watch TV no more because I used to watch, I still watch First Take sometime, but I used to watch all these different shows. I used to always got to watch ESPN till I watched the rerun of ESPN over and over again. I was just so engulfed with it. And God said, man, you wasting 1 to 3 a.m. or from 10 to 12 a.m. in a show that repeats itself. And the removal of that, my Bible's sitting there and me like, don't you want to read me? I'm here. And all of a sudden I started reading my Bible, not for ritualistic duties. I began to get revelation. Listen, when you read your Bible for recreation, you don't get revelation. When you read your Bible just for information, you won't get revelation. I can tell you right now, the reason why I love preaching, I love going to my Bible, because God will show me things I haven't heard on YouTube in a while. I haven't heard. I want God to give me that wisdom. I tell God every day, I want to be the wisest man in my generation. I want to be. And sometimes the stuff that he says through me, through his word, I'm like, man, bro, like, you about to make me look good. And that guy's like, bro, you know what I'm saying? You ain't about you looking good. But what I'm saying is, you begin to fall in love with God because God personally reveals something to you. The reason why people are not changed because they go to God for information, not revelation. You change when something has been revealed to you to change. Because if all of us know we should lose weight, all of us know we should work out, we have all the information, but that moment that heart valve breaks, all of a sudden you in that treadmill just going. Because it's been revealed to you that you need to work out. So has God been revealed to you to a place where you say, you know what? I forgot the question. What's the question? Fasting is important. If God tells you to pull TV away, food away, Instagram away, Facebook away, it's for your benefit. It's for you to get closer to God and for you to not be enslaved by the things of this world. So ask God what you should fast from. He may tell you to fast from lunch or fast from, different things.
What I'll add to that is that fasting and prayer go hand in hand. There's a lot of times where we'll just fast, where we'll give up Instagram or we'll give up first of all, like Josh said, when if you're fasting to get like an answer to a question, is this the guy I'm supposed to be with? Is this the job I'm supposed to take? And we say, okay, well, I'm going to fast from, I'm not going to eat breakfast. I'm just going to fast. And then you don't eat breakfast and you go about the rest of your day. But if you're not praying, then you're just skipping a meal. If you're fasting from Instagram and you're just not on Instagram, but you're not praying, then you're just not on Instagram. So you can't just fast. You have to fast and pray. Those two things go hand in hand. So that's just my 2 cents.
And just a little bit to add to that, like she said, prayer and fasting does go hand in hand. I know in, I think it's Mark chapter 29, I was trying to look it up. It was a story where it was a father and he had a son and he was possessed, and the disciples tried to, cast that demon out of him, but it wasn't working because they were working in the flesh. They were working with their own human abilities. And Jesus came and pretty much flipped the script. He was like, these demons or this situation can only be handled by prayer and fasting. So prayer and fasting are like your spiritual tools. We war against not flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. So you can't go out there and take a sword or a gun and try to shoot a demon. You're going to be shooting in the air. You might hit somebody. So, prayer and fasting are those spiritual weapons those are the only things that will get those demons and those spirits to move and to jump. So.
And I want to add something to that. Prayer and fasting is the gauge that these demons measure your life by. If you don't pray much or fast much, you are weak to them. Mm-hmm. You are nothing to them. What they do is they love to get you in a place where you just read your Bible every now and then. They get you in a place where you get weak. All of us had that place with God where we got strong. We want to fast from everything from meats and like y'all did and stuff. Y'all, I don't know, that wasn't the Lord. But anyway, y'all begin to fast from all these different things and anyway, you're strong in the beginning. Then what happens is you get caught up in your strength, that you find yourself beginning to get weaker. And what happens is, since you're not praying and fasting often, that's why you fall into temptations easily. That's why I tell people, man, that your life is only as strong as your prayer life. If you barely pray, you're barely strong. And many of us, listen, the only reason why I survive in my life right now is because of prayer and fast. If I don't pray, listen, I'm the preacher, man. Y'all don't, let me zoom y'all into my life. Y'all ready for this? I get spiritually attacked every single day. Every single day of my life, I'm warring just to get sleep. Every single day of my life, I'm getting spiritually attacked in ways that you probably can't imagine. If I don't pray, prayer is my survival. Many of us do not understand that the moment you start working on behalf of God, you are a threat. If nothing is happening in your life right now, it's because you're not a threat. But when you start doing stuff for God, they start coming after your prayer life. Prayer is like what we did to Syria as airstrikes. If what demons do says, you know what? If I destroy their air system, they can't fly and get us. So if I come and bomb their airstrikes, they would not be able to come get us. What happens is they don't bomb your reading of the Bible, they bomb your prayer life. Because if you can't shoot them with your prayers, you will not be able to bring them down. So what happens is they keep you from praying. They get you in moments where you pray. You know, you pray when you got the pillow and you laying down. You start falling asleep. That's by design. Prayer is your most powerful weapon. Do not let anything or anyone disarm you. Because the moment you start praying is the moment you become vulnerable. Prayer is more real than you think. And prayer is not something that you just, God, can you give me a car? Can you give me a woman? Can you give me a man? Can you give me this? Prayer is like, God, what do you want me to do in this situation? It's reporting for duty. It's not a requesting session. It's a moment for you to see, God, what's on your heart? And God begins to reveal to you how to fix this area in your relationship, how to fix this area in your life, how to safeguard yourself, because this life that you live is more spiritual than physical. So that's my, because I know we got to get through this. Yeah.
How do you help someone who is depressed but is in denial?
Say it one more time.
How do you help someone who is depressed but is in denial?
Can you answer that last one? Okay. How do you help someone that's depressed, my bad, and in denial? I said this about 2 weeks ago when Shelton asked a question, is that many of us trying to help people person to person. What happens when you try to help a person to person, or you try to help them head on, is that you begin to find yourself in a conference, because it's you, that person, and them spirits in that person. So what happens is you begin to try to help a person and you don't even know who you're speaking to. You ever had a person you try to help and they blow up in your face? Listen, man, it'd be funny when the closest people to me, right? They love to use against me. And even if I try to help them, it's something in them that try to barks against what I'm trying to help them for. I used to be that type of person, you just need to change. You need to get them demons out your life. You need to read these scriptures. You need to do all, and all of a sudden we become those people like, here's a list of things you need to do. It's like, no, okay. I can't fight you with them demons in you. I got to go to a place and fight you the way demons respect, and that's through praying for you. Many of us think that if I just confront the person, man, shoot, confronting it is only going to cause more conflict. What you need to do is say, you know what, this person's going, you already know the symptoms. You said he's depressed, she's depressed, or he's in denial, right? Those are listen, spirits operate by name. Spirits operate by what they do to a person. If a person's depressed, that's a spirit of depression. If a person's in denial, it's a spirit of denial. So all you got to do is say, you know what, God, just spend 10 minutes praying for that person every day. The next week, add another 5 minutes. The week after that, add another 5 minutes. What begins to happen is, in the beginning, that person's going to start bucking up against you. Because that demon inside that person starts feeling those prayers. That's why the Bible says the prayer of the righteous availeth much. That's why the Bible says pray without ceasing. That many of us pray until we see something barely come through. We don't pray for breakthroughs. We're not disciplined enough to pray for breakthroughs. Praying for breakthroughs means I'm going to pray over this situation until I break through it. Have you ever prayed and you felt the answer get to him? I've had moments when I pray to God, I felt that thing went straight through. And there'd be sometimes I pray hit the ceiling. Because I'm just a person that's not praying from if you really love that person, you'll pray for that person. And you don't pray just from intellect, you pray from your heart. And sometimes you may have to pray from groaning. Sometimes you're going to have to pray and say, God, see, if you saw a person drown, you're going to sit there and just sit on the edge of the water and be like, and watch them drown. You're going to say, God, I'm going to pray until I see this person change. I've seen it happen over and over again. The moment I start praying for a person, they start bucking up against me. That's the demons trying to make you stop praying. That person like, stop calling me, stop talking to me. That's not them, that's them demons. Pray another week, add another week. That person, that depression that's on them will begin to subside. And that person will start becoming the real person who they are. And so that's I can't talk too much about it because it's so much, but anyone else want to add? Hope that, did that help? Okay.
I'll add this. It's kind of personal, but I think, if it helps somebody, I'm all for it. But I haven't had a relationship with my mother. since probably last time she actually was in my life was like 96. I was 6 years old. So, and I think the last time I actually saw her was at my grandfather's funeral, and that was back in '01. So it's been over 10 years since I seen my mother. And so I would pray about it. And now let me go back, it makes sense. She dealt with depression, or she deals with depression, and she has some other mental issues as well that kind of she just kind of separated herself from the rest of us, the family and everything. But I would pray. I would say, God, I'm going to have a relationship with my mother. I'm going to have a relationship with my mother. You know, and years would go by. Like 10 years went by and nothing's happened. But I would keep on praying. I wouldn't do it every day, I'm be honest with you. But every time I would think about it, I would try to say, I'm going to have a relationship with my mother. That's all I would say. I wouldn't say anything else. And this past year, I saw my aunt, and I just went and asked her, like, do you have my mother's number, my mother's phone number? She said, yeah, I do, and I just so happened to have it. And she said, don't expect nothing from her. Don't expect her to say anything to you. That's one aunt said that, and then another aunt said, don't expect her to say anything to you. Sometimes you gotta push that aside. If you got something that you're reaching for, and you got a breakthrough that's gonna happen, sometimes you gotta push the adversity aside. And so I kept praying. I called her, and when other family members would talk to her, they would bark. She would bark at them, like, why are you calling me? I don't wanna hear from you. And I was expecting that, but I called her, and she was so receptive. And we didn't talk long, but it was not what I thought it would be. And I told her that I love her, and it was just beautiful, And I spoke to her a couple more times past last year and this year, and that's it. Your breakthrough is coming. Don't stop praying for it. If you stop praying for it, like you said, it's not gonna go nowhere. You have to keep pushing. You got to keep pressing until you break that glass ceiling, because I'm telling you, there's nothing too hard for God.
Yeah, and I just want to add something that can connect it with what he said. I heard of an analogy that if you hit a tree 100 different places, it would not fall. But if you hit a tree 1,000 times in the same spot, it will eventually fall. What happens is sometimes we try to hit different situations in different areas. We try different things, right? But the moment you stay persistent in that one spot, eventually what you're praying against will fall. What happens is, the thicker the tree, the more weary we become. So we're thinking that, God, I've been hitting this thing for years. He still got years to go. But the thing about it is, I'm not saying that, but I'm just trying to say that you got years to go, but we don't know how much the journey is. And many of us get weary in the journey, but God says, keep knocking. Hit that same spot over and over again. Listen, if someone keeps patting my shoulder in the same spot over and over again, and they keep, are you going to answer my question? Are you going to answer? I'm eventually going to answer that person's question. I'm eventually going to say, hey, if you keep knocking at that same spot, that stronghold that was in your life will eventually fall. The reason why we don't have breakthroughs is because we stop hitting that tree with the axe. And God said prayer is not something difficult. Demons are not something difficult to deal with if you just continue to hit it in the same spot. And they love to get you to feel like you're doing nothing. And they'll send your family to tell you, why are you still doing it? They'll send all these different distractions to say, why you even do it? That's why I'm a persistent dude. I know what the promises of God said in his word for me. And I'm going to keep pressing and striving, because you don't know how deep the stronghold is. And many of us think that we're chopping against little branches or little twigs. Some of the issues in our lives are oak tree thick. And you expecting to knock an oak tree down from 2 swings? Prayer is saying, every day until I see a freaking breakthrough. If you want to see a breakthrough, keep hitting it. Them demons will say, you know what? This person actually believes. Faith is an action word. Faith is a substance of things hoped for. The only evidence you have of things you cannot see. You have faith to move mountains. But if you don't hit that thing in the right place over and over again, that thing will never fall. You want your marriage to change, for those who's watching? Keep praying for that husband. You want your wife to change? Keep praying for that wife. If you want to talk to your mom, keep going. If you want to see change in your life, keep going. But do not keep going based upon, out of your own effort. Say, God, I'm doing this with you, because you're going to be like the man sometimes in the Bible that says, God, I believe, but help my unbelief. When you plug into that source, when you feel like you don't believe, God will say, keep going. Keep going. It's good stuff here.
So I am a single woman who is trying to grow in God, but I'm not sure how to handle dating. Should I date? There is nothing about dating in the Bible. Or should I be single? So I am a single woman who is trying to grow in God, but I am not sure how to handle dating. Should I date? There is nothing about dating in the Bible. Or should I be single?
Okay. Just to add context, the Bible historically didn't even have dating within its context, because it was mostly arranged marriages. So you're not going to find much of that in the Bible to a degree. There's some things to talk about a little bit, but for time, so let me answer the question directly. When you recreationally date, you're putting the seeking in your hands, saying that, God, I don't have time to wait on you. I'm going to go seek. I'm going to put myself in position to be sought. The reason, like I said last week, and I always say this because this has been in my heart, and God is really trying to get this in my heart deep. He's been telling me the reason why Jesus was so successful as the Son of God on this earth, because he said he only did what he saw his Father do. That he only did what his Father said. Many of us pursue a relationship without even consulting God. Many of us put ourselves in situations to be pursued without consulting God. What happens when you enter a cage with a lion? What happens when you enter in a situation where you have no bars to protect you? What happens when you enter a situation where you're now in more danger than you was before? That's what happens when you do any and everything outside of God. We begin to walk away from that hedge of protection. And God gets quiet when you walk around that hedge. You know why? Because it's your free will that chose to leave him. We have to be in a place where we say, you know what, God, I will be single until I hear from you. That requires discipline. Do you know how disciplined you got to be to turn? Can you trust God to the point that when God tell you no, he ain't yet, you'll be like, I'm not going on a date with you. I'm not going to pursue you because you're not the one for me. When are we going to get to a place where we say, I'm not going to do nothing until I hear? The reason why we Christians fail, because we've tuned our ears from not hearing God. And we think that, well, faith without works is dead. So I'm going to pursue her, or my faith is dead. I'm going to pursue her and see if this is it. Or I'm going, God, I think I need to step out in faith. I need to go out here and be seen. And then you start wearing shorter skirts. You start putting a little bit extra makeup. You begin to change your image. Fellas start wasting their money on stuff to try to present themselves. A man that wants you is going to want you for you. A woman that's going to want you is going to want you for you. You don't got to adorn yourself with garbs and garments and all these different things just to attract. Listen, you don't think God good at matchmaking? You don't have to put yourself out there to be pursued, man. Girls, man, you don't have to go out there and try to, but you got to sit there and say, God, I'm only going to see and do what you tell me. Do you know it may take you a while before you get your Boaz or you get your husband or get your wife? I'd rather wait to get the one than to settle for anybody else. I'd rather take my time, and you should be willing to take your time to develop with that person and develop alone so that when God brings the person, it will be divine. Have you had a divine moment? Then stop pursuing and stop allowing yourself to be pursued, because when you know it's God, you will know it's God. Now, you can get with somebody and God can redeem it. I don't want no refurbished relationship. I don't want something that's been restocked. I don't want something that used to be new is now is used. And I want to be with the right one. And God can do it. But do you trust him? See, the devil loves to make you think that he'll never come or she'll never show up. There's so many people selling for relationships right now. They're not happy. All that Facebook, Instagram stuff is just fake. I saw a couple came into my Y the other day that blessed me. Been married 50-something years. He came to get his car renewed, holding her hand. 55 years into it. I said, bruh, how did y'all do it? He said, we tried it without God, but when we brought God into the picture, God redeemed it. God will extend. He'll give you years. He'll teach you how to love. The reason we haven't been taught to love is because we have not been in his classroom to learn what love even is. And 55 years, I said, don't show me no hip-hop wives. Don't show me, no, I don't want to care about Jay and Beyonce. I don't want to care about them celebrities. No. Show me 55 years. Have you talked to someone that's been married 20 plus years? Because those people can tell you it's worth it. But man, you want to go out there, man, I'd rather wait 10 and get 60 years than to pursue someone in a year and be out of it in 2. Yeah, that's it for me. Yeah.
I'll just say this: if you're single and you're thinking about dating and you're kind of wondering how to do that, oftentimes when we know what we want. And we can very easily go out and find what we want. We may know what we want, what you want your man or your woman to look like, what you want them to act like, what kind of job you would like for them to have, the kind of characteristics that you would like for them to have. But God knows what we want and what we need. So if you're single and you're like, you're itching to be in a relationship, you're itching to get married, you can go out there and you can find whatever you want. Science and quote unquote science, with eHarmony and all the Christian Mingle and blackpeoplemeet.com and right. And all this stuff, and Facebook even, suggesting all these friends that you might know. You don't know them. But you can take certain tests and find people who you're compatible with. And you can be compatible with all kinds of people, but it doesn't mean that is the person for you. And if we take matters into our own hands and we go out there and get what we want, we're going to end up in something that we did not want. Just because it looks good doesn't mean that it's good for you. And we idolize marriage and have no idea what it is about. You can read all the books and you can take all the seminars and you can talk to people who have married 7,000 years. Until you are married, you have no idea what it's like to be married. So why on earth would you want to get into something so serious as marriage without being prepared? You will never waste time preparing. You'll waste more time being unprepared than you will ever waste being prepared. Nobody who has ever prepared has ever said, man, I really wasted my time there preparing. But people who are unprepared, those are the ones that say, man, I should have been doing this. I should have been doing this. A prepared person has no regrets. So we're sitting here and we're looking at marriage because we see what people post. We see these movies. We see all this stuff that shows glimpses and snapshots of marriage. And have you heard that saying, you can't see the forest for the trees? We're looking at one piece of a very, very big picture. And then it's not until we get into the thing that we understand, well, this is a lot more. They didn't tell me about that, or they told me about that, but I didn't think it was that serious, or I didn't get it. You will never waste time preparing. So prepare. You wouldn't, if you got sick tomorrow and you needed some kind of drastic surgery, when you got to the hospital and they say, okay, this is your doctor, he's applying for med school, but he hasn't really gotten accepted yet, but we're gonna let him do the surgery. You would hobble your way up out of the hospital, wouldn't you? You like that hobble? You would hobble your way up out of there, right? But so often we go into marriage like, okay, well, I done read all the books and I feel like I'm ready, and I've got it wrong so many times that I really feel like I know how to get it right this time, and then we end up in something that we cannot marry, something that we cannot manage, something that we cannot understand, something that we're so in over our heads. Prepare. Take your time. Yes, you may get lonely. Yes, everybody else may have kids. Your godkids may be graduating from college by the time you get married. It doesn't matter, because you will be prepared for what is for you. Everybody else who may be that's too much time. I'm sorry. But everybody else that's going into marriage, that's having babies, that's buying houses, that's doing all of this stuff, take your mind off of that and focus on Christ. Hashtag Team Johnson. Yeah, come on.
That man married now.
Yeah, give it up for this married man.
Co-sign everything that she just said. Me and Jessica are about to hit a year. Word on Sunday. There is nothing I can stress more. Like we went out in the hallway and was talking about it. It's like, stop worrying about it. Like if there's one thing that I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, stop worrying about it. You don't worry about food. God told you not to worry about what you wear, what you eat. Why are you worrying about who you about to marry? Worry about the things that God cares about. Let God handle everything that you want. Because marriage is not a necessity for your life. It's not, because you can get married and then they can die. Guess who you got? You and God. Enjoy that. That's where you start. That's where you keep it. And that's the best thing. My wife can testify. Yeah, we started out and we've been married a year. We got a lot of stories we can tell you. Just come ask. Once we really got back to just, yes, me, you, and God, man, it's been great. We ain't got to worry about nothing. We talk, we care about the same things. Nobody had to do that for us. God did it. And he's still doing it. And it's a work in progress. So, I mean, if there's anything I can say, while you building yourself, don't be trying to build a marriage. Build yourself. Definitely as a man, build yourself, because your wife's going to have to lean on you. And if you can't be leaned on, if you're not strong, you going to fall, then she going to start looking at you like, dude, who are you? Who did I marry? And you don't want that as a man, I promise you that. Because even God's looking at you like, told you. Now we got to go back to the basics. But you ain't getting divorced. You got to do it now. You don't be playing catch up while you're already in it. And man, come holler at me if you want to talk about it. But stop worrying about it. One day, you'll get married if God has that for you. And if God don't have it for you, I promise you, you're really not going to want it. And if you do want it, you don't want what God wants. And that's saying something deep.
Ain't up. He give me a chance to snap my fingers. Anyway, good stuff, man. They married, so that's good stuff. What time is it? I can't see my.
9.
One more question, and we'll stop there. And we'll answer the rest of them. We're gonna keep adding these questions. We're gonna answer them week by week.
This one kind of piggybacks on the last question. When you start dating, how would you know you're choosing the right mate? When you start dating, how would you know you're choosing the right mate?
Well, to answer that quickly, you know you chose the right one when God told you that's the right one. And God's not gonna sit there and be like, hey, yo, that's the right one. He gonna whisper where you can't hear you, but like, what'd you say, God? No, God's gonna be like, I don't necessarily think that it's words all the time. I think it's a peace that comes, not a peace that follows, that's being followed with confirmation. Because sometimes when the devil and them demons start seeing stuff is coming, see, look, let me tell you something. They can see what's being synced by God before you do. So what happens is they get you to start questioning what God is syncing. So what happens is God will give you all the confirmation you need to be at peace. If there's no peace, the moment you feel, not no indigestion, but when you feel that this ain't right, we suppress that because of loneliness. But that moment you feel like you attractive, but the closer you get to God, the closer you feel his heart for what he has for you. If you because y'all together, right?
For tonight's purposes.
For tonight's purposes. Let's use a married person. Okay, let's use married people because I don't want y'all to get tempted to fall into temptation. But anyway, David and Jessica. David, can you go over there? Oh no, Jessica, lay your head on his chest, on his heart. You can hear his heartbeat, right? Oh, can you hear it? You can't. That man dead? No, I'm joking. You hear his heartbeat, right? Jessica. Oh. Yes. Now go to the wall, Jessica. Can you hear his heartbeat now? No. The closer you are to God, the more of what his heart is beating for you will hear. The further you get away from him, his heartbeat becomes distant. So what happens is, if you want to know what's right for you, stay as close to God as possible. Because the closer you are to him, he'll say, no. I'm just joking. He'll say no. He'll say yes. He'll say wait. And since you're so in love with him and so close to him, you'll say, you know what, I trust you. Because all them people God said no to you, when you got a relationship, you found out why he said no in the first place. When are we going to realize to learn from his previous no's? So that when he say no again, we can say, oh, man, I done heard enough no's in my life to be like, once he says no, some areas I'm working on. But when it comes to things, I'm like, when you hear that no, you just got to trust him. Listen, man, I tell God, you don't always got to show me why he told me to go left and not right. I don't have God to tell me, oh, there was a 15-car accident. I don't even know all that. And many of us, well, why am I going left? And God, like, if you just shut up and you watch the Channel 9 News, you will see why I made you go left. And many of us get so caught up complaining on being, see, don't complain while obeying. Oh, that's getting somewhere. Are you really obeying when you complaining while you obeying? Is obedience more of the heart than the action? Because many of us are obeying celibacy, or we're obeying doing the things right by God. There's a lot of people obeying God but don't know God. And you can be obeying God and doing well, which I don't mean God is with you. When God says go with joy. When God says make a left, trust him. Because just like Danielle says, you can't see the forest for the trees. But when you're on the mountaintop, you can see the whole forest. When you're on the bottom level, you can only see what's in front of you. But when the higher you go in God, you can see everything he wants you to see. Let's go ahead and pray, man. So we stand up. What time is it? 9:30 something. Okay, let's go ahead and stop there. We'll answer the rest of your questions next week. And an incentive for you to come next week. Just joking. But anyway, let's go ahead and pray. We're getting the big stuff for those who don't know how we do things.